Thank you for joining me for the March 2026 Beverage Alcohol Industry Market Trends. Key events. The U.S. alcoholic beverages sector is experiencing a severe inventory and sales crisis, with wine volumes dropping 19.8% since 2021 and spirits producers holding an unprecedented $22 billion in aging inventory. This crisis stems from overproduction during pandemic demand spikes now colliding with contracting consumption patterns. Direct-to-consumer wine shipments suffered their steepest decline in 17 years during 2025, with shipment value falling 6% to $3.7 billion and volume plummeting 15% to 5.4 million cases, driven by cost of living pressures and reduced disposable income affecting the K-shaped economy differently across consumer segments. International trade dynamics are reshaping the market significantly. The U.S. wine industry faces crushing pressure from a trade war with Canada, where the market, previously accounting for 36% of U.S. wine exports, has collapsed due to tariffs and Buy American backlash. Conversely, EU tariffs are impacting wine prices for American consumers, while German wine exporters are pivoting away from the U.S. market, their largest export destination, toward growth opportunities in Scandinavian markets and China, despite punitive tariffs reducing shipment volumes. Tito's handmade vodka expanded distribution into 9 additional European countries, including Slovakia, Croatia, and Serbia, as part of their premium vodka growth strategy across Europe. Brand expansions and strategic pivots mark several notable developments. Polena reported 23.8% growth in China during 2025, making it their fastest-growing export market globally, with ambitious plans to become the #1 international premium beer in China within 2 to 3 years by leveraging Formula One's return to the market. Avaline, the wine brand co-founded by Cameron Diaz and Catherine Power, is experiencing rapid growth in the $20-24 wine segment and strategically expanding into on-premise sales through bars and restaurants while strengthening retail presence. High-profile winemaker Peter Sissek is making a notable pivot into the sherry region, while Virginia wines continue gaining recognition despite broader industry challenges. The functional and non-alcoholic beverage sectors are experiencing significant momentum. Olipop is intensifying flavor innovation efforts amid booming demand for functional beverages in the U.S., where consumers increasingly prioritize taste alongside health benefits. Saicho, founded by Natalie Chu and Charlie Winkworth-Smith, is gaining attention in the premium single-origin sparkling tea category, positioning itself as a refined, non-alcoholic option for fine dining establishments. The UK's Office for National Statistics is including non-alcoholic beer in its consumer inflation basket for the first time while merging wine categories, reflecting fundamental shifts in health-conscious consumer behavior. GelCert is partnering with Dunkin', while pivoting toward functional beverages, focusing on hydration, energy, immunity, and protein segments. Patterns. A clear generational divide is reshaping alcohol consumption patterns across all categories. Generation Z shows persistent resistance to traditional wine consumption, preferring beer, spirits, flavored malt beverages, and hard seltzers, with wine industry efforts to attract the 21 to 34 demographic proving challenging. When younger consumers do engage with wine, their selection criteria prioritize aesthetics and social experience over traditional wine expertise, as illustrated by the Gen Z preference for striking bottle designs and Instagram-worthy presentations. Conversely, cost of living pressures are causing widespread value-seeking behavior across demographics, with beer consumers adjusting pack sizes and purchase patterns due to inflation-driven pricing pressures, even as premium brands maintain loyalty among committed consumers. Premiumization continues as a dominant strategy despite economic headwinds, though momentum is slowing in some segments. The spirits market shows sustained interest in ultra-aged bourbons, creative finishing methods, and premium expressions, with products like Johnnie Walker XR21 commanding average prices of $233. Rum is showing potential for following tequila's successful premiumization trajectory from a decade ago, with analysts highlighting promise in higher-end segments despite overall rum sales declines in on-premise channels. U.S. distillers are challenging Caribbean dominance by producing premium sugarcane rum domestically through large-scale projects in Louisiana. The RTD cocktail category is experiencing rapid growth with premium innovation across bourbon, tequila, and flavored whiskey segments. Regional and varietal diversification is emerging as a critical adaptation strategy. California's wine scene is evolving beyond Cabernet and Chardonnay to embrace Mediterranean grape varieties better suited to climate realities, while global warming is prompting even traditional producers like Angelo Gaggia to invest heavily in white wine production, planting primarily Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc. The UK market is experiencing a sales spike for Spanish Verdejo wines from Rueda, demonstrating consumer openness to lesser-known varieties offering value. Lesser-known Piedmont Nebbiolo regions are gaining attention for earlier drinking wines with unique profiles. Portugal is rising as a value-driven wine exporter benefiting from shifting trade dynamics. Innovation through cross-category techniques and authenticity-focused marketing are becoming competitive necessities. Brewers are borrowing winemaking techniques to create novel hybrid beers, expanding appreciation boundaries, while craft breweries are scaling back from expansion to refocus on original values, quality, local engagement, and sustainability after overextension. TikTok is emerging as a critical marketing platform for craft breweries to reach new audiences and diversify customer bases, despite regulatory uncertainties. Tasting room conversions remain vital for DTC growth despite freight cost pressures and weak demand, with smaller wineries seeing visitation increases. The industry is exploring whether media content, such as an upcoming Napa Valley Netflix series, could create a drive to survive effect to engage younger audiences and restore cultural relevance. Market direction. The beverage alcohol industry is entering a fundamental restructuring phase characterized by overcapacity correction, demographic disruption, and strategic repositioning rather than outright decline. The $22 billion spirits inventory crisis and 19.8% wine volume drop since 2021 indicate the sector must right-size production to match post-pandemic consumption realities, with consolidation pressures particularly acute in distribution channels that are choking off the next cycle, according to industry analysts. Companies will need to navigate a K-shaped recovery where premium segments maintain resilience among affluent consumers, while value-seeking behavior dominates middle market segments affected by cost of living pressures. The steepest DTC decline in 17 years signals that direct business models require recalibration around tasting room experiences and conversion optimization rather than volume growth expectations. Geographic and category diversification will separate winners from losers over the next 24 to 36 months. Brands successfully expanding into growth markets. Paul Ehner's China strategy targeting number one status. Tito's European expansion into 9 new countries will offset developed market challenges including US-Canada trade war impacts and EU tariff pressures. The functional beverage boom, non-alcoholic segment growth, and RTD cocktail expansion represent the industry's fastest-growing frontiers, with traditional alcohol producers needing to develop credible plays in these spaces or risk margin compression. Climate adaptation through varietal shifts toward whites and Mediterranean varieties suited to warming conditions will transition from experimental to essential, particularly in established regions like California and Piedmont. The generational challenge requires nothing less than cultural reinvention of how wine and traditional categories connect with consumers under 35. Aesthetic-driven purchasing, social media, authenticity, sustainability expectations, and experience-focused consumption patterns among Gen Z demand fundamentally different marketing, packaging, and distribution approaches than legacy strategies. The industry's hope that media exposure, Netflix series, social platforms, can recreate wine's cultural cachet faces uncertain odds, but represents necessary experimentation. Craft segment returns to authenticity and community focus after failed expansion attempts suggests the path forward emphasizes genuine differentiation and local relevance over scale. Premium segments will continue capturing disproportionate value, but success will require legitimate quality stories and experiential components rather than aspirational branding alone. Companies that can bridge authenticity with accessibility, premiumization with value perception, and tradition with innovation will be positioned for the market's next growth cycle, beginning in 2027-2028.